Hey friends! I am back with another weekly pregnancy update. I am officially 16 weeks today, and yeah, so that's the conclusion, I guess, of 4 full months of pregnancy. So I'm assuming that next week I can officially start to say I'm in my 5th month of pregnancy, which is the middle month, which means this is almost halfway done. Like, this is almost halfway done. 20 weeks is halfway done, assuming that we get to 40 weeks, right? Because some babies come earlier. My son came earlier. But it is assumed that the 20th week of pregnancy is the halfway mark of pregnancy, and I am 4 weeks away from that. Much closer to the halfway mark than the beginning. That's pretty wild. That's like really intense to think about. Because on the one hand, it feels like this pregnancy is taking ages. Then again, I found out when I was literally 3 weeks pregnant. Most people don't find out until they're like 6 weeks pregnant. So I've had more weeks of knowing I'm pregnant than the typical person does, and that would explain why it feels like it's gone on so long, because I've known I'm pregnant for a really long time. But then I start to think about how there's less than 6 months left in the pregnancy. According to my app, there's like 160 some odd days left in the pregnancy, and that really does not feel like a long time at all. Like, that feels like no time at all. Okay, had to change the battery on the camera, but I'm back. So, yeah, I guess updates. First off, I mentioned the last update video, I'll post that up here, that I'd been having some back pain. It's to do with an injury that I sustained like 2 or 3 years ago while I was working out, and I'm pretty sure I vlogged about that. If I can find the original vlog where I talk about it, I'll post it up here at some point in the video, because YouTube doesn't let me put 2 cards so close together. But pretty much every once in a while this injury kind of acts up for no reason I can tell. I don't know if it's that I slept funky when I slept in a weird position, or I don't know, but I woke up on, I don't know, I think it was over the weekend at some point, and I was in so much pain in my right shoulder blade, like, yeah, back here, that I was having a hard time breathing even. Like, it was really, really painful. If I didn't know that this is something that I have to deal with every once in a while, I would have gone to the hospital. Like, it's that level of pain. But because I'm familiar with the pain and I know what's causing it, and I know that it's just a muscle thing that I have to deal with, I just kind of grit my teeth and got through it. And luckily, by the following morning, it's like nothing ever happened, which is typically how these things go whenever I have these like flare-ups of this pain. But it was worth noting at the time because it was really, really painful. It really like messed up my whole day. It was so distracting, like I couldn't do anything because it just hurt so bad. So, worth noting, like I said. But I'm fine now, thank goodness, and it's been several days since that happened, and I haven't had any recurrence of the pain. And if my typical pattern holds, I won't have the pain again for months and months and months. So, knock on wood that that's exactly what happens. What else is going on? Today, actually in about 3 or 4 hours, I have my monthly obstetrics appointment. So at this earlier stage in the pregnancy, I think until the 3rd trimester really, you see your doctor typically once a month throughout the pregnancy. And then once you get into the 3rd trimester, you start to see the doctor twice a month, so every 2 weeks, until you're in the last month of your pregnancy. And at that point, you see your doctor every single week, basically until baby is here. I already have all of those appointments set up, so I know exactly when I'm seeing my doctor any given month. And it so happens that today, the day that I hit 4 months exactly, is the day that I'm seeing my doctor. I don't know what all we're doing today. Definitely not doing any scans today. Maybe she'll use a Doppler. We haven't done that yet. I'm hoping she does something to check on the baby and not just like brings me in to ask me questions or whatever. But I genuinely don't know what today's appointment's gonna look like. I did see in her notes from the last appointment that she intends to speak to me today about early gestational diabetes testing. And since I saw that note on my portal, I had a conversation with my husband about it, and I told him that I am not going to subject myself to any of that nasty glucola liquid, like the glucose tolerance test that typically happens in your third trimester. I'm not going to do that before it is necessary in the third trimester, because with my first pregnancy with my son, strictly and solely because I am a fat woman, and I'm sure I've talked about this on the channel before, they had me do a 1-hour glucose tolerance test when I was like 8 weeks pregnant. And I got really, really sick from that. My body did not tolerate that liquid well. My results came back normal. The only reason they had asked me to do it was because I was very overweight. And even though the results were normal, they still said, we want you to see a dietitian, we want you to see an endocrinologist, we are going to treat you as if you have gestational diabetes, in spite of the fact that we have hard proof that you do not. So if I had refused the test or submitted to the test, either way, they had already decided what they were going to do with me simply because of my weight. I am not putting myself through that again. I said back then that I was never going to put myself through that again. Spoiler alert, the third trimester test that I obviously did because you're supposed to, the 3-hour glucose tolerance test, similar result. Everything came back normal, everything came back fine. They still sent me to an endocrinologist. And when I got there, he was like, I don't know what to tell you. I have nothing to treat you for. You're fine. I don't know why you're here. It was all because of my weight. No other indication. My health was perfectly fine. Obviously, the test results were perfectly fine, but they refused to accept that a woman of my size could possibly be healthy. And so they put me through all of this stuff simply because of my weight. And again, I told myself then, just as I'm telling myself now, I'm not subjecting myself to that again because your prejudice is not my problem. So I'm prepared to go into this appointment ready to, if she wants, I shouldn't even do this, honestly. I shouldn't legitimize their stigma by offering any sort of compromise. I should just straight up say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm fine, thank you. But in the interest of keeping the peace and in the interest of why not, let's make sure I'm okay, I'm prepared to tell them, if you give me a monitoring kit, I'm more than happy to monitor my blood sugars at home after I eat, which is a normal, typical situation for me. I eat multiple times a day. I move, I sleep, etc. I live my lifestyle. If you want me to report back on how my numbers are while I'm living my regular day-to-day life, I'm happy to do that for you if it makes you feel better about the fact that I'm definitely not diabetic. But I'm not going to subject myself to a lab test that I know is going to make me ill, because it's made me ill every time I've had to do it, and only to potentially have the results not mean anything. This is a different doctor, it's a different practice, it's a different time, etc. But I can only go based on what I've already experienced, and what I've already experienced is stigma and prejudice that I did not deserve. So hopefully she understands that and is willing to meet me halfway. But I am not interested. If it would be different, let me make this clear. It would be different if at any point, literally in my entire life, pregnant or otherwise, I had ever had a pre-diabetic test result, a higher than usual A1C, any indication whatsoever that I might be diabetic or pre-diabetic. Something that shows that potentially this could be a problem, then I would be remiss to be like, I'm not doing this on principle. But the fact that nothing in my very well documented history shows any cause for concern, and that this would literally just be a matter of like, well, I don't like the look of you, so I'm going to put you under this test, I can't vibe with that. I can't do that. So I'm prepared for this appointment to be a little contentious. I hope that's not the case, but I've been mentally preparing for that for the last several days. So it just is what it is. You're gonna have to wait till the next video, I guess, for me to report back on how that goes. And then something else that's happening is that on Monday, I am meeting with the maternal fetal medicine doctor, which is like the high risk doctor. She told me last time, the OB told me last time I saw her at my 3-month appointment, that she wanted me to see MFM just in case, because I have this genetic condition. And I told her at that point, I don't want any more invasive testing on the baby because the baby's fine so far. And we've already ruled out anything that the baby might have, genetically speaking, chromosomally speaking, that could hurt her or that could make birth complicated or difficult. So I figure if she has anything else that's like a secondary issue, like the issue I have that affects my reproduction, we can find that out after she's here. And we already have a geneticist that we see in our family, and you know, that's already the plan. That's already been discussed between me and my husband. So I'm not interested in any further testing on the baby at this time, because the testing could potentially be harmful. Waiting for results at this point, because we know that she's safe from all the more like potentially harmful stuff, that's not harmful. We can do that. So I don't even know if I spoke correctly just then, but hopefully you guys understand what I mean, because I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. But regardless, she wanted me to do it, so I made the appointment. They're gonna see me on Monday. I don't know what's gonna happen at that appointment, how that's gonna go, but again, I'll report back in the week 17 video because that hasn't happened yet, so I can't tell you how that's all gonna go. As far as what baby's up to and baby's size and everything. Oh wait, I need to give you guys a belly update, don't I? Hold on. So there she is. Whoops, let me stand up here. There you are. There she is. Getting a lot rounder these days. Feeling far more pregnant. But there's baby girl. She likes to hang out on my right side over here. And yeah, that's the belly shot for week 16. And now, as far as her size, she's as big as Tiana's beignet. That's so ridiculous. Like, that doesn't even make sense. She's also as big as a Polly Pocket necklace. Maybe I'm too old for this, but I remember the size of Polly Pockets. I don't remember the size of a Polly Pocket necklace, so that doesn't help me at all. As big as a candlepin bowling ball, which I think is a smaller bowling ball than typical. I don't know. She's also the size of a can of lemonade. So I guess like a typical 12-ounce can, like a can of soda. That's pretty wild. See, that's something that I can picture in my head. So that's pretty intense. And she's as big as an avocado. Again, that doesn't help me. I'm from an area where we have like 4 different kinds of avocados, and they're all extremely different shapes and sizes. So I can only assume what kind of avocado they mean. But the 12-ounce can, or the can of lemonade as they described it, I definitely know what size that is. So that's pretty nuts. This week, apparently, baby's eyes are starting to make side-to-side movements and can perceive some light, even though her eyes are still like sealed shut. So basically, she's like, I don't know if you guys can see if the camera's picking it up, but the movements I'm making, she can do all that. And she can tell when there's light or darkness in front of her, but she can't actually pop her eyes open and see yet. The thumb sucking habit may have already begun because the sucking reflex begins at 16 weeks. That's crazy. Strong heart. Baby to be's circulatory system is now up and beginning to run. Her little heart can pump about 25 quarts of blood a day. That is wild. Baby now weighs in at a whopping 3 to 4 ounces and is 4 to 5 inches in length. That's wow. The backbone and tiny muscles are gaining strength so she can straighten out that neck and head even more. Baby's skin is transparent. Her face is starting to look more human, but there's no baby fat to her yet. And her skin is practically translucent right now. So if you took a peek inside your uterus, you'd be able to see baby's blood vessels under that thin skin. Oh, and this is the coolest thing. Apparently, the tiny bones in her ears are in place. So she can't hear me just yet, but by week 18, babies generally fully develop the ability to hear in the womb. So that doesn't mean that she'll be able to hear outside sounds yet. Like if daddy gets close to my belly and talks or something, she might not be able to hear that just yet. But when I talk obviously all of your insides reverberate, etc. And so when I talk, she'll start to hear like kind of the muffled sound of my voice as soon as like 2 weeks from now. That's so cool. Yeah, and then they're saying, as far as I'm concerned, you almost certainly have a belly now, which I do. I have. They're talking about, oh, nasal congestion. I really hope not. I really hope I'm spared from that this time, because when I had my son, I don't remember when it started in the pregnancy, but I remember spending weeks, if not months, with a stuffy nose. And it's because I had rhinitis of pregnancy, which I did not know was a thing that could happen. Nobody ever talked about that before I got pregnant. Like I said, I didn't realize it was a thing because I didn't know anybody that had dealt with it. But it was just constant congestion and constant sniffles, literally for weeks. Miserable. So I'm hoping that I'm spared this time from that. But apparently this is about the time in your pregnancy where the possibility of that starts to become a thing. So not fun. But yeah, that's pretty much the update. I think I've caught you guys up on how I'm feeling this week, on baby size and what baby's up to. Like I said, I have an appointment today, but I'm not going to get to record about that today. So I'll fill you guys in about that appointment and about the maternal fetal medicine appointment in the next update. But we're officially 4 months in. We're officially about to enter our 5th month. It's very, very exciting. And this is just, it's a trip how slow, but also how wildly quickly this is going all at once. And I'm just happy that you guys are here following. So thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to my rants. And I'll be back next week with another update. So I hope that you'll pop back in then. Bye.